So today we are decking the halls with budget-friendly tips for the holidays. If the thought of holidays and spending has you stressed, fear not. We've got some merry tips to help your wallet stay jolly and keep your stress in check. We're here to help you spread cheer without breaking the bank. So get ready to turn your holiday stress into holiday success and let's slay this together. My name is Ryan Nelson, and my wife and I paid off about $160,000 in debt over 8 years while raising 3 kids.
And I'm Amber Taylor, and we saved and paid off $54,000 in 20 months, and I've been debt-free outside our mortgage since 2018.
And I'm Chris Hawkins, and my wife and I started our journey way back, and we paid off just under $100,000 in debt and have been debt-free except for our mortgage ever since.
And I'm Kati Hatfield. I have been on my debt freedom journey for 6 years now, and I have paid off on a single income $169,000 and saved thousands more.
Now, after listening to this episode, if you want to take this a step further and you'd like to get better results with your finances in as little as 30 to 60 days, I'll be sharing details about that later in the show. So Christmas.
Do we need like some Christmas music? I feel like jingle bells.
Yeah, right.
I'm not in the mood for Christmas right now.
I know. I think every year we've done this episode, Chris, you mentioned it before we started this, or Katie, I think you said it's hard to think about Christmas when it's 88 degrees. But I feel like every year we've done this, we kind of all feel the same way. Like, it's like the last thing we want to think about right now.
I have the air conditioning on right now, so yeah, not thinking Christmas.
In a way, we're a little late to the party. I mean, shouldn't you start thinking about next Christmas in January?
Yeah, you probably should. It would be a good time to start a sinking fund or start planning for that, right?
We should, but I will say, I'll throw myself on the sword, especially before we got out of debt. I was always surprised when Christmas came around.
What?
It's the same time every year.
Why?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to say,
right.
It's not a mystery.
But when we were in debt, I just remember as the holidays got closer, just this dread of like, we're going to be in debt. We're going to be charging stuff. Just that feeling of like, how are we going to pay for all this? Even though, like you said, Chris, yeah, in January I should have started, but we never did. And it was always like, it's all the way in December, And my wife and I just talked today, like, it's already going to be end of July here pretty soon. I mean, it goes quick.
And in January, you're probably, if you're in debt, getting your credit card bills from Christmas and dreading having to pay those. So let's try and prevent that.
Well, I think there's some interesting statistics here. We'll just kind of walk through these a bit. So some holiday spending statistics from 2023 indicate a significant financial impact on many Americans. Some of the key findings included, increase in the holiday debt. So about 36% of Americans incurred holiday debt in 2023, and that's a rise from previous years. However, the average debt amount decreased from around 10%, so around $1,381 it was, and it decreased to about $1,249 in 2023. And this marks the first year-over-year decrease since the survey began in 2015.
But I mean, I'm even if I was still in debt, I'd probably be spending the same amount of money and just going more into debt, to be honest with you. Like if I still had that mindset, right? I'd be like, but to prevent that, I mean, now is the time to really think about it. If you didn't think about it in January, and think, how much do I normally spend during the holiday season? And how much do I need to save between now and then, each and every month or each paycheck? And just split that up and put it in an envelope, put it in somewhere, savings, that you could actually save that. So you're not this statistic of the 36% of Americans who incur holiday debt.
And I'll say this, yes, prices have gone up. I did up our Christmas budget by $200 this year just to account for that. Mm-hmm. So, but that's something I sort of do. I do a yearly cash flow plan. So I'm always working a year in advance, sort of. But when you do this for 19 years, you kind of get to the point where you can think a little bit more long-term down the road. But yeah, I recognize that last year, the amount that we set at the beginning of the year for Christmas at the end of the year, it was a little tough. So we were able to increase it this year. But again, it comes back to planning in advance. And I think that's probably going to be one of the messages that we're going to share with folks is now's the time to start thinking about this.
Yeah, paying Christmas with cash is always better than swiping a card when we can do it.
I remember when we used to like really think my kids are going to love this present. It's going to be so awesome. I can't wait to give it to them. And then they get it, and like a week or 2 or 3 or a month later, it like sits in the corner. They never touch it again. And I'm going to be so angry because now I'm paying this debt off for this gift that I thought they'd love and that they said they wanted, and they don't even like it, you know. But I will say, like, when you pay cash, yeah, it still stinks, but you're not sitting there, you know, so upset that you're paying it off all the time.
Well, this is sort of on topic, but sort of off topic. Having had 3 children myself, you're right. There's a lot of things that you buy for them, or grandparents buy for them, or aunts and uncles buy for them. They got so many people buying presents for them that it's like one after the other. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. And they just kind of throw them over their shoulder and move on to the next one. It's all about unwrapping the next present.
Mm-hmm.
And then they want to open all of them right there. And inevitably you miss 3 or 4 pieces that get lost that day. And you're right. Most of them never get played with, or they get played with 1 or 2 times. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something for people to think about. Do you need to buy as much as you do? Does it make you a bad parent? I don't think it does.
I don't remember all the gifts I got when I was a kid, or like, ooh, I got 20 or 10 or 5. I don't remember that.
Like, I don't have kids, but I have a niece and nephew, and they are 5. And usually after we give them something in a big box, they would rather be in the big box with like markers and coloring than whatever came out of the box. So they have a great time. And when I have toys at my house for when they come over, it's the same thing. I have boxes that stuff has come in, and they would rather play with those than some of the toys.
So as we kind of talk through this, some of the tips for people, and I think, you know, Amber, you mentioned on this too, but I think setting like a realistic budget, not only for what you can afford, but I think for also, because, and I'll be honest, I'm still like this at Christmas. I do have that feeling of like, did we get them enough? Even though when I let that feeling take over, then I'm usually mad after. My kids are older now, but during the times when they were younger, if I let that feeling take over, I was usually mad I let it take over, because it was just stuff. It was just something to open. It's just, well, then this one had 9 presents. We got to have 9 presents for everybody. And then they're like, oh, socks, whatever, you know, they don't even care. But I think setting that realistic budget is a huge, like, what can you realistically afford?
Yeah.
Well, an important thing there is 2 things. If you're just now thinking about it, your realistic budget probably isn't going to be as much as you would like, but that's okay, folks. It's okay. People are not going to judge you based on how many things that you give them or the value of things that you give them. Sometimes what you give them, you know, gifts is not what they would treasure the most. Spending extra time with you, or, you know, if you're a kid and you can't give your parents a present, you know, babysit your siblings one night and let them go out. I mean, just there's so many things that you can do and give that doesn't involve money. Time is a very precious one, that you just got to think about, what can I do? And let me stay true to who I am or where I'm trying to get to. And remember, folks, this is only temporary. You get yourself out of debt, you can always increase that budget in the future if you feel like you want to sort of make up for lost time.
And I mean, don't be afraid to cut people off your list. Like, we used to buy for extended family, and oh, we're seeing this person. Oh, this person happens to be coming up for the Christmas. Now I'm gonna buy them something. Don't think you have to buy everybody something. Keep it to your immediate family. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Or do something, because a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm giving them a $50 gift card to something, and they're giving me a $50 gift card. It's like, why are we doing this? It's just silly to exchange that. Last year, our family, the adults, because it's just my sister has the 2 little kids, we decided we were going to take a family cruise, and that was going to be like the gift that was the surprise on Christmas. So we booked it way in advance. So we got a great deal on it. And then we also had something to look forward to in February after Christmas, after we surprised the kids with it. And we had a fantastic time. And I would take that 10 times out of 10, or sitting there opening presents that you may or may not use or may not like.
You'd probably be surprised if you had just an open, honest conversation with your family about this, like about presents and spending money. You might be pleasantly surprised at how many people would be like, thank you.
Right.
Because you're feeling this pressure, and so is everybody else. But if you just brought this up in a sense of like, I really can't afford this anymore, and we're really trying to cut back, and like, here's what we'd rather do, like some of these other things like we just talked about, I think you'd probably find a lot of people that would be like, yes, like we would love to do that. Because I think I'm the same way, Katie. I don't love getting the gift card just so I turn around and give you a gift card. How about we not do that? And if we're going to spend money, let's spend money to do something together rather than, or just say we're not going to do that.
Before my sister had kids, we did cut out, like, we're not doing gifts. Please stop doing gifts, because we'd all moved and downsized and all the things. And it's like, we don't need more stuff. We're trying to get rid of stuff. I think we would talk about it all the time. The average home has 300,000 items in it. And yeah, looking around my house, I can count the majority of them and probably have way more than that. So it's like, I don't want any of that anymore.
And if you feel you need to do the gift thing, which is totally fine, and by all means, I love giving gifts. I absolutely love it. But you can always get creative and do like a DIY gift exchange, right? Where everybody has to make their own gift, or a gift exchange. We did that one year. It was so funny. And it was just silly and funny. And the whole experience of the actual gift exchange was so different. And that's what I remember most. I have no idea what I got that day.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's the excitement of having no idea what you're going to get, right?
Yeah, you don't. You have no clue.
And so there's a couple of perfect examples of what I was talking about. Find some of the unique or different way to give gifts. I will say this. Gift cards have made Christmas not fun for me anymore. I hate to say that. Because, where do you want a gift card to? It's like, really? You're just going to find the lazy way out? That's sort of the way I look at it. All right. Yeah. And you're right. So many people exchange gift cards that it's like, why are we even bothering? And then my wife, my mother-in-law, and my kids sort of do this. It drives me nuts. They go buy their own gifts and wrap them, and then you pay me back for the gifts. I don't know if that's a new trend or not, but it's certainly with my family. And that also has spoiled Christmas for me because there's no unknown anymore.
No, I would hate that. I love the surprise.
Well, my wife was the one who had to find out all three of our children what gender they were before they were born. And so there were no surprises there either. So I've wanted to live with this for my whole married life, 31 years now, of no surprises.
See, my fun at Christmas, and my mom used to get so angry. My fun was trying to figure out what all my presents were before Christmas. So like she had to get super creative in hiding them anywhere and everywhere, because every year I would figure out where they were. She hid them one year in a car top carrier and locked it, and I figured out how to pick a lock that year. And then she hid them at my grandma's house, and then we had Thanksgiving over there, and then I snuck around my grandma's house and find them. So that was like my fun for Christmas, was always like, and my wife is terrible at it because my wife's like, you'll never know what I got you. And then I'll guess. And then she's like, forget it, I'm done. Like, I said, I'm just good at it. I can't help it.
The worst thing my mother ever did was taught me how to wrap presents, because if you learn how to wrap presents, you can learn how to unwrap them. At the end of them, you fold them off and then fold it out and, oh, look at that box. And then you fold it back and tape it. So
if you have children like these, your plan and shop early tip is probably not a good idea.
Or learn how to hide it.
Save and shop right beforehand.
Yes.
That was always my sister. She was always spoiling the surprise. I wanted the surprise, and now I realize my love language isn't even gifts. I don't want to get gifts. So it's like, this was just kind of all a waste. But I did once get what I thought was an air mattress, and I was going camping, and I'm glad I opened it before I actually went, because I hadn't opened the box yet. It was actually just a blanket wrapped in another box. So I was like, well, that would have made for an interesting camping trip. So
Amber, you mentioned it, that plan and shop early, and Chris, you kind of mentioned it at the beginning. And I think this is, for me, like, in order for us to stop using debt, this is kind of what we did. And Chris, you mentioned it at the beginning, we knew every year at Christmas we spend X amount of money. So let's just say for simplicity, let's just say it's $1,200. And so every month starting in January, we were putting $100 aside, and for us, and it was an envelope. And we just said, this is Christmas money. And that, when we started doing that, it just totally changed how we did it. And then we were able to, I think you can take advantage of sales. I mean, we never shop super early, but especially as you start to get September, October, November, you don't have to wait until the rush of Christmas. You can really like take advantage of, hey, they're running this super deal right now, and I know they want this, and you can do that now. and you have the cash for it.
I got a question for y'all, just out of curiosity. When I was younger, my mother, she would do a lot of shopping at Kmart. If you remember, there used to be a brand called Kmart. And they had this thing called a layaway. Right? You would go take the item to the layaway office back there, and you would put a deposit down, and every so often you had to come make a payment. And then you didn't get to take the gift or the item home until you paid it off with no interest, by the way. I saw, I think Walmart about 8 or 9 years ago had brought that back. Is that still a thing?
Not here. They took that away a while ago. It was. I mean, it wasn't a bad system.
No, it's a great system. We used to do that too, and I don't know if I've seen that in forever. But I also don't go to stores to shop as much as I used to either.
So could you do that yourself with envelopes like you were talking about every month, put a certain amount of money in an envelope?
Yep.
Yeah. It takes some discipline though, because now it's in your envelope. You have the cash, right?
Right.
Instead of the store holding it for you.
Right.
It does take some discipline and some planning.
I remember the first year we did it. First year we paid cash for Christmas. I just remember how peaceful it was to know that when the holiday, that Christmas day was over, that I wasn't staring at a credit card bill. Because we're in July, and when I was in debt, I was probably still paying on my debt from the last Christmas. And it probably was rarely that I had it almost paid off, and I was doing this all over again. And I think there's a lot of people out there that can resonate with that. If I charge everything, I get it paid off maybe July, August, September. I have a month or two, and then I'm right back in it, and I'm doing it all over for the next year. And I think that's maybe sometimes, and I remember we had this conversation with our kids, you may need to take a Christmas off in a sense. You know, you may need to just kind of say, like, this is going to be pretty small this year, to set yourself up for future years. I remember when we had to do that, the first Christmas we did it, it was a really small Christmas. But guess what? My kids survived. We don't all sit around and they don't all tell me the horror stories of Christmas where we didn't get a lot.
Remember that Christmas?
Yeah, they don't.
You gave us nothing.
They don't even remember. So I know some people have this fear of, like, if you do that, your kids are going to be, you know, I don't know, that's just going to devastate them. I mean, it may in the moment, but you know, if you can set yourself up for future financial success, it was totally worth it when we did that.
I can't remember anything before I was 7 years old, anything. So certainly aren't going to remember not getting something for Christmas. So maybe the point I'm trying to make is if you got young kids, certainly they're not going to remember it.
If you have a lot of people that you normally shop for, like if you have a big family or extended family that are always like, we have to buy something for everyone, trying to do more of a gift exchange where you draw a name and you only have one person to buy a gift for. Because I know even when my grandparents were getting older and on a more limited income, we would just include them. Like not everyone got them a gift, or we would do like one big gift for grandma and grandpa and then little gifts for each other. And that was really, I think, appreciated by different members. Like when all of the cousins were in college at the same time and totally broke.
Yeah, and everybody gets to go home with something. You have a fun little gift exchange and it's fun. Yeah.
I don't know, but listen, there can be an overboard moment. And so if you feel like you've got to give everybody something or that's sort of mandatory, you're better off saying no.
The opposite of that was my family is a lot of farmers on the one side. And so sometimes we would get butter or homemade jam or things like that. And now I'm like, now that's what I want to get for Christmas. I want to get socks for Christmas. I don't care about something fun and extravagant or anything like that. My most memorable gift was from my best friend in 6th grade. It was a rock on a rope. It was in the shape of a heart, but we still talk about that rock on the rope, and I think I still have it somewhere.
Well, and I think, like you said, Chris, it's okay to say no. And you need to be concerned about your own financial well-being and what your plan is and what you're trying to get to. We had to make some tough decisions, and we had to say no. And like you said, I think at the beginning, Chris, doesn't mean no forever. This isn't no, and I'm never, ever doing this. It just means no for right now. And maybe that's a year or 2 or 3. And then once that's over, you could actually potentially be more generous than what you ever could before. If you want to pay off debt, save more money, and take control of your finances and start seeing some amazing results in just 30 to 60 days, all you have to do is head over to debtfreedad.com, click on the green button at the top of the page, and we will show you how. As always, congratulations to all of you who are taking a stand for your financial life and are wanting better. We get that getting out of debt isn't easy, but with our help and your consistency and discipline, we promise you this will be some of the best work that you do in your entire life. Thanks for joining us today, and we will see you on our next episode.